Hi everyone. Many people have been actually asking me for a build for mages and what I'm using, what stances and why I'm using those skills. So I'm gonna shortly go through all of them and try to really quick explain why I'm using those skills and why I think they are kind of strong. Okay, so maybe let's go. So from the beginning, I'm using the fire stance and ice stance even for PvP and PvE. Why? Because the conversation between the stances are actually really strong, and that's what you have to focus on when you play in a mage. So for example, if you are on a flame tactic, if you're gonna go from flame to cold tactic, you're gonna receive a critical hit rate. That's why I'm going on maximum to the right to increase the critical rate by 5 times 4. So basically it gives me, it's not that one, but it gives me like 40% critical chance on every single ice spells. And in a different way, so when basically I'm going from the cold tactic into the flame tactic, it's increasing my damage from the fire spells by 40%. That's why I'm using those two tactics right now, and I think that's the most efficient way and the best way to play mage. Okay, what is next? So basically, Kindle, that's your one of the most burst damage, and I think you need to decrease the cooldown. Decrease the cast time on the skill by maximum, because you're gonna use it very often, and you got like really great finisher and really great burst damage from the fairy explosion. And I'm doing both on decrease the cast time, because sometimes you have to cast it quick before you received any CCs. Also, you got magic shot on the maximum to the right to regenerate your mana, and also as some extra damage you're just going for that skill and the fairy meteor. Also, I got 2 points for a flame strike, just because I think it's really useful for some situation in PvP and mass PvP, especially if you go into the BG and sometimes you got group of 5 people capturing the flag. It's really helpful to use that one, interrupt the capturing, and also deal like a lot of damage, and it's damage over time as well. So I'm recommended to put at least few points. From the cold tactic, obviously conversation level on maximum to increase your damage on the flame tactic. Beating cold, 3 points. I would add 4 points if I will have some extra blue gems. That is random 1 point because that was left, and freezing 3 points for a damage, and also you have to do that to add the stun for 1.5 seconds. I think that is really useful and helpful in many situations to actually freeze somebody. I got Ice Wave on a damage as well. I was thinking about to decrease the casting time, but I prefer to like deal a lot of damage at once instead of do it quicker. I don't know why. I just prefer in that way. Magic shot, obviously, to regenerate your mana. You can spam it. Frostbite, some on the damage, some points on the ice blast as well as the damage. Freezing spear, Freeze spear, sorry. Freeze spear for a damage. I'm recommending that. Sometimes it's very useful. That skill is very useful as well for some situations to break the chains, because it doesn't say, but it actually stunning the enemy for 2 seconds. That's really useful. And that would be from the stance chain skills. Non-chain skills, I'm using elemental armor 2 points. It's just decreasing my mana consumption. Sometimes it's just useful. If you really need something else, just add 1 point, but definitely you need the lightning, because it's a great skill right now and I think it's supposed to get nerfed. against melee characters because they're receiving really often the stun. From the blink, I'm going full on the top one, which is actually deleting all the crowd control effects. It must have on a PvP and PvE in some dungeons as well. And obviously I'm doing that on a maximum to decrease the mana consumption. This enchantment, I'm just going on a bottom just because it's increasing my ability power by 30%. Great for a burst and great for dungeons to increase your DPS. Counter spell, I got nothing on that, just because I think there's nothing particularly good. I was thinking sometimes about that to burn the maximum mana from the target against some classes, but it removes the silence effect. So I think it's not that useful to go any of that. Just leave it plain. Sleep, I got 9. For the mana shield, I'm going to decrease the cooldown and reduce the 75% incoming damage. Very useful on the dungeons and saving my life a lot during PvP when I'm getting focus. So I recommending that skill like for sure. Also that one is really great for mass PvP if actually people are recognizing you dealing a lot of damage. You can use that in many situations to actually be immune to any incoming damage. It's like basically being a tank for a while. From the abilities, I actually rebuild that a bit because the first thing is the physical defense and also the magic defense is not scaling that well. So I just went just 1 point to my to increase my intelligence by 40. I've got the critical hit to critical hit 20. I've got my ability power to increase it by 50, and also I went to increase the critical damage by 10%. Why I've done that is just because if you're going from flame to ice, you, as I said, you're receiving the critical hit by 40%. Like you're critting basically really often, and I think that 10% is quite a lot compared to that what you're receiving from those skills. What else? From the equipment, I'm highly recommending to go it's not that one, okay, to go for stuff with the decreasing cooldown by 5 seconds on blink. As I said, is the most important thing on PvP, to blink really often and be immune for some skills. From the jewel, I've got the jewel crafting on the master level, and I've done the Tarasso set, that's how it calls, and already done the maximum, like the all 3 jewelry actually giving me those 2 effects, and I'm really aiming for the step 30, so we've got all added enchants on every single piece, gonna give like 30. That is actually amazing. So I recommending that for all DPSs, not even mages. With all the equipment, you're just going for, I got 2 slots for all for PvE because I don't like misses, so I'm just trying to avoid as many misses as possible to not break my chain combo. I got the flying dragon, but obviously I will change it for eagle. I got eagle pattern over here. Mostly you're aiming for eagle and 2 to 3 owls per set. The situation will change on the epic items and epic runes, but nobody got it yet on the server, so you know, I would keep the eagle and the owl as your primary runes for a set. Okay, so if you got any questions or anything, feel free to join the stream. I'm streaming most likely every day to see some PvP. I'm running all the dungeons pretty easily, so you are all welcome, and take care. See you.